Okay.
Should we start
Save
the
it for
show?
podcast.
Yeah, let's just
Let's
do
Close
this.
the door?
Please.
Oh.
No, I said, did anybody close the
So
door?
we don't
No,
have,
apparently not.
murderers walking because it is Halloween season.
Right.
Murder birds.
Bird,
Right.
bird.
Bird, murder bird. Actually, that'd be a pretty good name for a show. Bird, murder bird.
Murder bird.
Bird, murder bird.
Would it be kind of like a Dr. Jekyll, Mr. Hyde kind of thing?
Maybe, I don't know, but I mean,
Now
come
she's
on.
bird, sweet and cute. Now she's murder bird.
But you know, you're every time bird's about to kill somebody, you hear doot 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 doot, and then you turn around and you die.
Welcome, sentient beings from all known universes and beyond. It's time to activate your cranial downlinks and prepare to receive a raft of discussion on a cosmic ocean of science fiction and fantasy topics, interviews with local area genre devotees, and insightful prognostication by our soothsayers of science fiction, our forecasters of fantasy, and any other beings that happen to get caught in our gravity well. This is the Galactic Driftwood Podcast.
All right. Well, hello, folks, and welcome to another episode of the Galactic Driftwood Podcast. I'm Bill.
I'm Seth.
I'm Jenna.
I'm Chris.
Charles.
And in this episode, we're going to be delving into the game world, talking about all kinds of game stuff.
Finally.
Seth is much relieved.
I've wanted to talk about video games since I came on over a year ago.
Really?
Yes.
You never told me.
Yeah, I've mentioned it
Well,
repeatedly.
The day
I
has
kind of
finally
tune you
come.
out like I do my wife.
Oh.
Ooh. I mean, my other wife. Linda, no.
What? What? Wait, what?
Never
Because that makes it better.
And this will be the last episode we will be seeing of Bill. I'm not sure what happened to him, but
Well, you know, there's some video games that we could talk about to work out that aggression. So,
that might help.
Works in there.
Might help.
yeah.
All right. So
Brings me
who
back to
here-
the whole bird, murder, bird.
bird, murder bird. So if you show up dead from bird,
You'll know.
I mean, is it the bird or Linda using the bird
Bird,
as
yes.
a murder weapon? A birder weapon?
Oh my god, that's awesome.
Linda's like, yep, all of the above.
Thinking of you, John. Thinking of you.
And on that note,
So,
So games.
yeah, this week we actually have, we've got Chris here, who's a gamer.
Mm-hmm.
Jenna's a gamer.
Absolutely.
I'm a gamer.
I have gamed.
I'm probably not a gamer.
but you appreciate the YouTube videos.
I've learned, yeah. No, it's one of those. I can. A little while ago, I'm watching some kids occasionally, and they're watching the gaming section on YouTube. And my first reaction is, how the hell did humanity go down to this level where not only are you not doing actual stuff and playing a video game, you're not even playing the video game, you're having somebody else play the video game for you.
Fair.
And so that was my first reaction. And then talking to them, there was a couple benefits. They went, because then I went, do you have the game? Are you going to play the game? Because I want them to be doing stuff.
Yeah.
Rather than just watching.
Rather than just watching some fool, right, play a game, make silly comments, And, well, the answer was no, they don't have the game. But
Games are expensive sometimes.
well, and that was the other thing is it took me a little while. I had to kind of work myself up to, okay, maybe you don't have to play the game now. 10 minutes of this for 20 minutes sure beats hours and hours from people I know. Yeah, sometimes. So I'm still on the fence with a lot of it, but the other thing is in my life I've often enjoyed commentary better than I've enjoyed movies or books. sometimes it's phases. And for the same reason, sometimes I don't have to read the book, or the commentary is so good. I've been sucked into shows just because I've read a good review, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's a benefit. Like I said, I still sometimes go back on the fence. And when I watched a little bit of it, what they were watching, I found it very relaxing. But
Charles is like, so
Time to
much blood
sleep.
and gore. Blow that shit up. It's so good. It's so
Well,
good.
I mean, Twitch.
But to me, it was still. I go back and forth a little bit. I think it's a little questionable if you want to spend too much time watching the gaming station.
Well, if you're not a gamer per se, I mean, it's like for me, it's a lot more about the personalities playing the game, and sometimes it's also about them playing a game that I'm interested in, but will never get around to playing. Like I'm interested in a lot of the horror games, but
Yeah.
I'm never gonna play them just because I'm a big old pansy.
But I think it'd be good
It's
for
another
you.
way to experience it, though.
Yeah.
without
Yeah.
having to go, A, spend the money, and B, decide you're not into it, and you've wasted nowadays $60+ on maybe that premium game.
Yeah, and it is also a way to kind of preview a game that you're a little bit interested in, but don't know if you want to pull the trigger on it.
Now, what of the games you've played? Let's go around. What has been your favorite game?
And that's like asking me what my favorite book is.
Yeah.
Okay,
that's
what's your
hard.
favorite book?
What's your favorite genre of games?
My favorite genre
What are your top
is
two or top two or three?
I think my very favorite genre is strategic RPG. So that's where you build your own team of characters, and you usually have a 3-dimensional board that you move them around, kind of like chess, and you get to build up your characters however you want to. So stuff like Final Fantasy Tactics,
Disgaea.
Disgaea. I love Disgaea.
Who you named one of the
Fire
characters after
Emblem.
me.
Fire Emblem is
Big
what
one
I'm
right
playing.
now.
Fire Emblem Three Houses right now, and I have to protect all my precious students. What's some other good ones?
Those are kind of the big ones. At least
Yeah.
the more recent one, Fire Emblem for me personally
Mhm.
is one I've enjoyed. Outside of your typical, Final Fantasy type RPGs, Fire Emblem's one that gets me on the couch for 40+ hours.
Yeah,
to
I mean,
play through that.
Disgaea is all about kind of gameplay,
Mhm.
that problem solving, raising your own characters thing. Fire Emblem's a lot about story.
Yeah.
So you've got a lot of interpersonal relationships in that story going on, and you're kind of responsible for guiding how the story unfolds. Which house do you choose? What actions do you take within that house really affect how the story plays out in the end? So it's like some games are almost like reading a book.
Yeah.
All-time favorites come up with Baldur's Gate 2. That was one of my first, just blown away gaming experiences just because of the story set in the D&D 2.5 E rules. And Final Fantasy VII Half-Life 2 is definitely up there. If you've never played Half-Life 2, that game is like playing an action movie beginning to end. It's awesome.
Really? Huh.
Yeah.
Right, Jenna?
I kind of have to agree with Seth. It's like, what is your favorite book? Because I think it depends on what mood you're in. Like, I love Skyrim if I just want to take long walks through the forest and murder some things and feel like I accomplished.
Some things.
Feel like I've accomplished something because I've leveled up.
Yeah.
But then again, I love Portal 2. I mean, I know it's an older game, but it's just like
Oh, yeah.
the collaborative problem solving.
With the portal gun.
And the humor.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I played that.
The
That's
The
humor
humor
and the
thing.
writing is
No,
so
I
good.
still have
Yeah.
a cosplay in
The
my
cake
head
is
of
a
how I
lie.
could be Gladys for a convention. Like, I have it in my head, and I think it'd be hilarious because her little barbs, especially in the downloadable content, is great.
Yeah.
But you can't ignore the classics. Like, I was raised on Mario. Mario is like life. So
All right.
that is the thing.
Yeah.
Chris?
So I kind of have a top three, I guess, and they're not any particular game. They're more like the genres. So if I need to lose myself for a few hours into something, it's gonna likely be an RPG, something where you put some thought into it.
Yeah.
Advanced storyline. That's where the Final Fantasies, the Fire Emblems of the world kind of come in and do that for me. But you know, cars has become a larger part of my life in the last few years or whatever. So I also enjoy racing sims. So your Forza, your Gran Turismo. So that's a big thing for me as well. Just getting in and driving a car all weekend or something like that. And also multiplayer games. So when I was younger, I did a lot more Nintendo 64 with a bunch of friends around the TV. And that went away for a lot of my friends for a long time.
GoldenEye?
GoldenEye, yeah, it was pretty epic for us, but we were all in the same place kind of for that. And Halo for a while there, when it came into the picture, you could play from anywhere. You didn't always have to be in the same room and get together in matches. But as of late, we started getting together again to play games like Overcooked.
Yeah.
Oh,
Overcooked 2,
that's
which
a
is
good
kind
way.
of it is, and it's this amazing game where you got to get all together and you have to figure out how to make these meals, and there's time clocks on. There's a little bit of strategy has to go into it. It doesn't sound like it'd be something appealing, and I wasn't sure either.
A little bit of destroying friendships there
Yeah, a
as
little
well.
bit of destroying, a little bit of yelling, some slapping going on.
Overcooked
and
was fun.
It was fun,
yeah.
and so that's become something that's grown for me as another way of getting more together with people in the same room to play some games.
Yeah,
So it's become a larger thing.
and those
that
are-
I've enjoyed a lot.
Yeah, those are cooperative gaming
Yeah.
experiences. You have
Yeah,
to,
the
you really have
co-ops
to
is
work
really-
together with that.
Yeah, co-op has been a growing thing for me the last couple of years.
Mm-hmm.
And Charles, you're not.
I'm not-
You
I
haven't
wouldn't
played any
know.
games. Okay.
I haven't. I've
So-
been out of the loop.
Yeah. For me, I think Descent was my first big game, and we used to play that at work all
So
the
was
time.
the space one, the little ship that you go
Descent,
around all
yeah,
the
and you were like in a
So I watched my
mine
dad
on
growing that a lot,
Oh.
playing that a lot growing up, and
Okay.
that kind of first got me into computer gaming at the time because we had gotten like a sidewinder joystick for the
yeah.
computer and everything then, and yeah, that was kind of beginning into some of the computer gaming thing for me back then, and
Yeah,
that
we-
was pretty awesome.
We played that a lot at work. We would have a lot of us would, 5 o'clock was quitting time, but a lot of us would stay at
Yep.
the office for the
Yep.
next hour
Linda,
or two.
when did he come home?
Oh, it was late. Linda was like, "Are you ever coming home?" My phone would be blown up,
So
and so we did that
You
a lot.
tell that whore that she can't have you. No, I'm just gaming, I swear.
Well, and the funny thing was, we had the director of our IT department. We got him into playing the
It's
game
always
as
helpful
well.
if you can get the boss in on it.
Yeah, and he would come by.
wait.
Sometimes he would come in, and he would just have gotten off the call with the corporate office, and he'd be piss-ass mad about something. And he would come into the. We had like a little, kind of a private room where there were about 5 of us in that room, and it was swipe carded. And he would come in, and he'd slam the door behind him, and he'd say, "Crank it up, fuckers!" He wanted to murder something,
Uh-huh.
And we fire up the game, and the funny thing was, he was one of the worst players, and because he didn't play it near as much as we did.
But he just didn't.
And he would get in there and he'd be bumping into walls, and
Mhm.
upside down trying to figure out where he was, and somebody'd come away and just blow him away. And that would just happen, for about an hour, and then finally, it was in the era where all the computers were linked, and if
Yeah.
you
Mhm.
killed the power on one, it just froze
Just
everybody.
broke
And he
everything.
would get pissed, and he'd reach down and hit that power button, and he'd say, "Fuck you all!" He'd hit the power button and walk out.
that's one way to end the gaming session.
No, it is.
Yeah.
But I think that kind of therapy is pretty accurate. I mean, I remember being in grad school and then also working, and I would come home to the guy I was living with at the time, and he'd have a shitty day temping as well. And it was like, Resident Evil? Yeah, Resident Evil. Because, we had the collaborative version on 5, and there was nothing as soothing at the end of the day like fucking blowing up some zombies together.
Yeah, mass
together.
murdering zombies. Yeah.
Yeah,
So-
yeah. Some grenades. I named my shotgun. It was great.
Yeah, another couple of games that really come to mind for me is the recent Legend of Zelda: Breath of the Wild, and that one is remarkable just for how much time I spent in the game just exploring
Mm.
and looking at the beautiful countryside in the game. It was kind of remarkable for me because that was a completely new experience for me with just how kind of zen that game was, where you could just ride around on your horse and explore the countryside and find new stuff.
So was it that much grander than the Zelda when it came out on the Nintendo 64, for example? That was kind of one of the first stories in the open world.
So much more, because
doing
that one still limited you on where you can go and what you could do. you were barred off from access to certain areas. This one, you can just go wherever you want, and you can find these weird special places in there that's just pretty, and like see a deer run away as you go through the forest. And another one is was Xenoblade Chronicles 2, which is
It was on my short list.
remarkable for how fun it is, but just for the quality of music in it.
Well, what's so amazing, I think, about video games is like you have these fantastic studios that create these graphics and music and art, and then you have fans that come in. Because I remember almost as soon as Skyrim came out, the mods, like the fan created mods, especially in the computer version versus the PlayStation version, and like I knew a guy who he had downloaded so many of the mods that did what the special edition did, which was smooth it out, make it look all the more realistic, blah blah blah. He would totally trip shrooms and then just play for hours walking through the countryside.
I mean,
Skyrim.
Skyrim's another one of those games that's great for that
Because it's open world.
It's open world, and it just has such a breadth of different areas that you can go to. You can be walking through the mountains.
The
and
tundra.
Snow. It's just like it's snowing, and with a few minutes travel, you can be in more of a pastoral setting where there's farms and things.
Well, so you feel so much as the non-gamer. I think that was last year. Those little kids I watched, they were telling me it was like a Lego something game. But they're like, yeah, and they have a band that plays every Tuesday at so and so. And
Because
it's a fresh
they were in the
band.
open world.
And I remember my reaction being, well, okay, when you're a little older, hopefully you just go see a band. Because I get it.
If they've got the funds for it, have you seen this economic predictions of?
Well, all right,
like
all
buy
right.
your gaming.
No,
station.
but it was a funny experience. So, and it was a little before Thanksgiving. So I went to a Thanksgiving that just happenstance had a bunch of gamers show up, and they're all talking, and they're all, I don't remember which game world it was, but they're all like, yeah. And there's that band that plays on Thursdays on. And I'm like, why? And I don't know. To me, it's a weird, because I'm still of the. I'd rather go see a bad band in a real world
than a good band on a computer simulation.
I think.
I mean,
I'm not saying I'm not absolute.
What if it was the same band that was a good band that played in the real world, but they're also playing
or
in this video
or take time off from work to see this band on my computer at home? To me, it just seems a little much. But
there was a game recently, and I can't remember what it was, where they had, I think, Kiss playing in it. No. I
hope that's not the case. I don't know whether that happened or not.
I don't know if it was
I'd
Kiss.
hate to see that.
It was some massively multiplayer game where they had a fairly well-known band come in and play in game.
Deep breaths.
It sounds like the sort of thing that would Fortnite would do, because they're all about getting the kids in there.
It might be. It's a unique way, I guess, to get a little bit of exposure, to get out there and I don't know.
I think we're moving more and more towards more virtual experiences.
Well, that goes back to the whole simulation thought that, we're gonna end up in the Matrix, and it's just gonna be one big video game.
The other experience is very similar with the kids. Is they had me watch. It was two people in the game. They're recording the game and they're going back. They're saying witty things back, and supposedly witty to 10-year-olds, right? and it's just, they're showing me that. I'm like, all right. I mean, that's okay, but they're, And then I come here and Bill's like, hey, you got to see what's this red and blue thing?
Yeah.
And so I'm like, well, I guess if adults are.
I have to give
it
you
is
credit.
funny. I'm not. It was just to me, there's been a couple not being a game, not kind of being part of the wave.
The gamer world.
Every so often, these things happen, and to me, they're strange. And at least that's my first inkling.
No,
Maybe I'll come around.
that makes sense.
Now, I've got to give you credit for trying the things that the kids are interested in, and kind of more credit for trying the things that Bill's interested in.
Well, Bill can be convincing.
Pull your mic
We're
away
gonna
a little
pull your
bit.
mic
Oh,
forward a
am
little
I-
bit.
really?
No, like push it
Loading.
forward.
Oh, okay, there
There
we
you go.
are.
Seth, you were right. Kiss was in the band or in the video game Psycho Circus. They served as the
I don't even
basis for the
know what
game's
that is.
premise.
And so
It was back in 2000. They were.
Oh, no,
the-
this is something much more recent than that.
Oh well, this is back in 2000.
similar
The,
thing,
the
then, that they
Kiss
must have
band
done.
was digitized and appeared in a series of Todd McFarlane's comics based on the band's 18th studio LP, Psycho Circus.
Yeah,
They served as the basis for the game's premise.
there are some bands that
was
just
a
have like
first-person
straight
shooter.
up video games of them out on the App Store right now, and I wish I could. I think it's like Megadeth or something has
Oh.
their own game out on the App Store, which I don't know anything about.
Well,
I've
I don't
just
either.
seen
And
it.
it's as you know, even as a gamer, there's so much out there that appeals to different people. I feel like maybe that gaming area is a little bit flooded with a bunch of nonsense. I can't speak to whether
Well,
it's quality games or not, or
I mean,
quality.
That,
you know.
yeah, that is a problem like on all platforms. It's just the amount of shovelware that gets put out there, and maybe it's going to become more so with Apple Games.
Yeah,
That new Apple
the
gaming
new-
channel.
Yeah, the Apple gaming
Subscription
thing
service.
they have now. Yeah.
But apparently they've got a lot
Apparently
of.
there's some quality stuff. I
Yeah.
did read, some people who've tried it out, or when they went down to the Apple event, and some podcasters or YouTubers out there, and they said they tried it out, and there's some promising things in there. But how long does that last? I mean,
Yeah,
look
how
at the
long
App
until
Store.
it's
The App Store, when it was
flooded
launched,
with-
was launched with a lot of quality apps, and then soon became your 99 cents and free
75
garbage
Yeah.
stuff. and-
75% fart noise
Yep.
generators.
So how long until this new Apple gaming platform becomes that? And also, I'm getting sick of all these gaming platforms out there. It seems like if you can make
Everyone's
it,
got to have
do it.
one.
Yeah. Well, Discord, the popular chat had their was it Nitro,
Mm-hmm.
and they're getting rid of that
Yeah,
because
no
it was everyone saying, hey, we don't need another gaming platform to another subscription to. Hey guys, how about a gaming platform? And I said no, and then they did it anyways. Now
Nah.
they're like, my bad. We'll just
We'll
just
stop
walk that
this.
back. We'll stop this.
I mean, well, there's a conversation to be had there too, because like Steam is the 500-pound gorilla in the room, and
With its flaws, it's not perfect.
Oh,
but
no.
it is a solid.
but it also
Platform
doesn't
that's
have a solid competitor.
Right.
So and
So
without
Steam
that,
is a gaming platform.
yeah, Steam is a game
Is it
distribution.
comparable?
Yeah, game
to-
distribution. I say platform as in like maybe an ecosystem, if you will.
So do you need special hardware for it? Is
No.
No, no.
Oh, okay.
It's you can buy digital games through it, and they serve as your library and how you download the games, and they launch the games as well, and kind of maintain a social network
So they're
around
kind of
it.
platform agnostic.
Yeah,
Mhm.
it'll run on tons of stuff, not most of the gaming systems per se.
Okay.
But they have
But-
made like Steam console things or whatever. They never really
Yeah.
went too far, but they do have consoles now. You can buy.
They
that
do have
run
some
Steam
hardware.
on it.
Okay.
Yeah.
But they were the only solution for the longest time.
Right.
And so by now, anyone who's done PC gaming is so bought into their ecosystem that there's no real competitor for them.
I see.
But everyone else is trying to make something which is kind of fragmenting things a little bit, but no one's gaining enough
Traction.
steam.
Yeah.
Right.
I was gonna.
Steam. I like it.
I like
John
it.
needs to be listening.
That's two for me today.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's been a thing. So people will launch these new games, and it almost becomes what platform are you gonna, what ecosystem are you gonna launch your game on? Some will just say, well, we'll do it on whatever platform we want, or we'll do it through Steam. And I'm still on the bandwagon of just do it through Steam and make it easy and just add it to my existing library of hundreds of games.
Right.
Instead of-
90% of which you haven't played.
Yes, this is true. Like Steam has become a library of collecting things that you may not even touch.
Now you guys.
But then
own
you'll watch
different-
the YouTube videos on playing.
Do you guys own different platforms then, or do you just do Steam?
So I have on the PC. I mean, there's Steam on there, but I also have a PlayStation 3.
Okay.
I also have an Xbox.
Okay.
So and now as of recently a Nintendo Switch, but I also had a 3DS before that. So I collect pretty much all of them, including like the Nintendo Classic, the PlayStation Classics. I've got them all.
Yeah, I have a Nintendo Switch, which is my primary gaming system. I also play on PC, and I have a not often used PS4
Okay.
and a PS3 somewhere.
All right.
I mean, I've owned several systems in the past, but I've limited myself to a PS3 lately because fucking life and jobs.
I don't say limited. The PS3 still got a lot of games.
I
on
know,
there
but
that
I don't
just
have
didn't
multiples
warrant it.
because, you know, and I could not, because of how little I can play it with my current, you know, Monday through Friday job, I haven't justified buying a PS4, which I really, really want. But I will probably go to a PS5 because they're going to be able to...
Backwards
Yep.
Backwards
They are
compatibility.
backwards
Yes.
compatibility.
Oh, that'd be nice.
That's the holy
everything.
grail,
Which
right
is
there.
really what people want. They want to be able to upgrade their hardware, and they don't want to lose their.
They
old
want to play
Yeah.
the
Right.
nostalgic
That's
games.
true.
Right.
That's a
Like,
thing that they
that's
should
what's
just
kept
make
me from
standard.
converting to a PS4 is
Yeah.
because I
Yeah.
want to still play Portal 2.
Yeah.
And a lot
Don't
of
want to have to buy it again.
No. I gave you my money, you assholes.
Right. Right. Yeah, I've got a bunch of the original Xbox game consoles, and then PlayStation 3. So pretty much where I'm at. But yeah, so but Descent got me kind of hooked on it, and then of course Halo, got big into Halo. Some Duke Nukem, some of that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Duke Nukem.
Yeah.
One of the original games I don't think my parents would have let me play.
Ha.
Mm.
Oh, I
You
suck
know,
in
only
the...
minor adult theme stuff in there sometimes, but
Yeah.
Minor.
minor.
What?
One of the first games that tried to push the boundaries.
Yeah, and yeah, that was one that kind of skirted over. I don't know if that one would really started pushing some of the ratings things that they started to need.
No, that would be Mortal Kombat. I
Yeah,
think you
Mortal
started
Mortal
that.
Kombat
really was where that
originally
came
got people
around.
panicked.
Yeah, yeah.
Kids, getting the kids to be all violent.
Well, now
That-
speaking of that, in games and violence,
Yeah.
what do you think about all the stories in the media now
Or
that
shit.
relate
Going
game
back,
violence
trying to bring it back.
real life violence and shootings?
As-
And
As
schools and
long as I've been playing games, so my entire life, conservative media outlets have been trying to tie video games to violence. I mean, and it's kind of the same thing as like rock and roll and
right.
like rap music and whatever the scary word is of the time. But
Drugs.
I mean, there have been plenty of studies that show that video games do not cause violence.
Yeah.
There is some correlation between people who are already violent and
Right.
violent video games, but there's no data showing that the video games make them more violent.
Right. Well, especially
And-
since you don't see the same level of violence or gun violence in other countries as you
Yeah.
do in this
Mhm.
country.
They still
yet-
have access to the same games,
Exactly.
the same things. Yeah.
Yeah.
If anything, there's been more positive, like cognitive things they've pulling out of video game studies that show that, you know, whether you're piloting or doing whatever, that there's benefits to that in a training aspect, but not a lot of things that were harmful that they've been able to
Yeah.
draw direct lines with.
You know, now that made me think of something. I wonder how many, if anybody's done any experiments on video games and their use in like elderly homes, senior citizen homes, and how that helps
I
with
bet you that study's there. I know
cognitive-
they've done it for like military stuff and medical things, like with surgeons. And
Yeah.
I'm betting you that research is out there for elderly people that
and how
need
it helps with
assistance and, like,
cognitive.
help
No, I mean
maintaining
there's
cognitive
lots.
ability.
There's a few different systems that are not mainstream that definitely advertise themselves to assist with dementia and keeping people on point in terms of their problem-solving skills as they age. So I wish I could think of some,
I-
but they're out there and it's positive.
Yeah.
I think there have been some of these, some of the studies you're talking about, especially with the original Wii, which integrated its motion controls
Right.
and had
And that
things
really
like
started a
Wii
conversation
bowling.
with people about that and where
Yeah.
video games were going to go to for helping in those areas. The Wii really kind of kicked that off.
Right.
And like experiences like that with Wii bowling and the Wii Sports, and those are the kind of things that like even non-gamers did and can get into. And any age is appropriate for any age range. You don't have to know a complicated system. You understand how to bowl.
Sure.
And maybe you can't go to the bowling alley anymore, but you can sure set up a Wii and do it in your
Right.
house.
Or
You
they
can
had
do it from
the
a
Wii
wheelchair.
board. You can do your
Mhm.
exercises on it or whatever. The board you can stand on or whatever. They had workout routines. It was the whole full body
So I
video gaming
took-
experience.
Yeah.
I took, I don't know how many years of piano lessons. And my little brother, who's 6 years younger than me, had a Nintendo, and he bought like a keyboard. This is
Yeah.
30 years
Mhm.
ago.
Mm-hmm.
A keyboard and some sort of music thing. That
I think I remember this.
He taught himself to play the piano about as well as I could over the summer.
Huh.
You seen the video game, yeah.
It's in
Which
the
was-
summer,
well,
and
and
you
I
were
can
in, what,
see-
6 years?
I'm saying, yeah, 6, about, 6 years ahead of him in piano lessons, yeah.
Huh.
Like
And,
I can see your games like Garage Band or Guitar
now
Hero,
that's
if they're
one
designed
case.
for the learning that can really help you.
But
Right.
And that
if
kinda-
I could definitely, but I don't think I don't know how often they're used that way.
Well, there are so many video game experiences that are just like more than violence. You've got things like that. Chris mentioned Garage Band
Or
and
Rock
Guitar
Band or
Rock
whatever
Band
it
and
is,
Guitar
Rock Band,
Hero,
yeah.
which were you had a
Yeah.
big old guitar controller and pretended to be in a rock band, and that was really fun. I did that for a while.
But I think going back to the original question is video games and violence. Really does come across as a scapegoat that you don't have to address the bigger issues.
Yeah.
I mean,
Or disingenuous in that they're blaming that in order to take the blame off the rightful area
yeah,
where it belongs.
because
And it also kind of appeals to an older generation who didn't grow up with video games
Yeah.
and hasn't bothered to experience any of them.
Right.
we're going to take it out of the video games, the violence, and then we'll say we fixed the problem even though we didn't, and you all are going to keep voting for us because we took violence out of video games.
Yeah. And meanwhile, Hollywood,
Yeah.
they get more and more violent every year with what you see and
But
what they can
does it get
depict.
more and more
no
violent?
sex.
That's true. We're
No
gonna talk.
sex.
Yeah,
It's
you're
been
gonna,
violent for-
you're gonna get out there and you're gonna praise, Rambo for getting gorier
Right.
and gorier every time they come out with a new one, and you're not gonna talk about that, but you're gonna be okay throwing a video
Right.
game under their bus, which
Right.
it's nowhere near as
I-
bad as more of the realistic stuff that you have with
Right.
those other
I've
violent
grown up
movies.
with a lot of TV shows and movies that I have gone back when I was a kid, seen, and gone back and went, holy cow.
Yeah.
I don't, how did mom and dad let me watch this?
Yeah. Right.
And so I don't know what happened there. I don't,
The biggest issue I have with finding blame on the video games, so like how did mom and dad let me watch this, is that's part of the discussion right there.
Yeah.
I think that is part of the
Is
discussion.
parenting. Like, how are you going to blame video games when it's not? Some of these kids can't afford that by themselves. It's
Right.
mom and dad that bought it for them. Mom and dad that let them put the time into it. Mom and dad that.
Well, never had a
Well, and-
conversation about violence.
And like
Yeah.
I think you mentioned earlier, these games, or Jenna, that these games have ratings on them, right?
Right.
And I'm sure a lot of them say when they're violent, it needs to have parental supervision.
Yeah.
I don't know what the age is on it, 13,
Right.
14 and up, but
And I would argue that there's probably very few parents that are sitting there watching their kid play that game and providing them the necessary parental
Yeah.
guidance on some of that stuff.
I never know.
Yeah, I mean, there definitely should be more parental involvement. I mean, what Charles is talking about, what he's doing, is excellent.
Yeah.
And there needs to be more like adults getting interested in the things that the kids are interested in and trying it out, and if seeing that, and it maybe if it is going a bit too far for how old the kid is, saying, you know what? No, let's take this back. There are more appropriate games you could be playing.
Yeah.
Right.
Like Dr. Mario.
Dr. Mario is good for everyone.
Tetris. Problem solving.
Legend of Zelda. Come
Yeah.
on.
Well, speaking of problem-solving games, so you mentioned Portal earlier,
Yeah.
which was very good. What other games out there are like that would be good for younger children to watch that would teach them problem-solving skills like that? Or
I mean, it depends entirely on the kid and what they're interested in, because there's a bunch of different types of problems they could be solving. Like
Some are puzzle based, some are
Math-based,
card
based,
based,
yeah.
like probably like Hearthstone or Magic Arena.
Mm-hmm.
They're both designed around making your own decks and pitting them against other people's, and that's the sort of thing that makes you think and solve your own problems, see patterns, and be creative in how you solve your problems. There's like the problem-solving game genre is an entire genre within games. So, like, it just, for me, I guess it kind of started. Well, no, I mean, Tetris would have been the original,
sure.
almost. Tetris and Dr. Mario.
Mm-hmm.
And there were probably ones before that I'm definitely not thinking about. But, I mean, you've got all sorts of things that, are great for problem solving or learning. There's rhythm-based games that might help you with music or and just a whole array of things. Like the indie gaming scene is bigger now, thanks in part to Steam and other digital marketplaces than it has ever been. Like anyone can almost take their own, like if they've got the time and the desire and the resources, don't have to go through a big publisher anymore. You don't have to put it out on a Nintendo cartridge to have your game seen by a couple million eyes.
Mm-hmm.
And I think there's the fact that now there are grad school programs in game development, like Southern Methodist University's Guild Hall. I think that's really added to the authority and this is a legit thing. It's entertainment. People want it. So we're going to train people to create it because it's a cash cow.
And
It's a huge cash cow. Like, maybe since you've got the pad up, Seth, you can see how much money did the gaming industry make last year? Like,
That's an interesting thing, though, because there's how much money the gaming industry is making, depending whether you're the Xbox, or you're the Sony PlayStation, or you're Microsoft, or whatever. But a growing thing that's been interesting is the people playing the gamers. They're also on like your Twitch and everything like that. The gaming industry is also spending a crap ton of money as well on just the entertainment value on gaming, whereas it used to just be. They don't need to. There's more marketing now on the video game side than on anything else. You've got these big, and the names escape me right now because honestly I don't follow the Twitch gamers all that often to know the names. But some of the big things have come up lately are, we're going to release this game for free, and it's going to be popular just like Fortnite or whatever. However, we're going to give this player $1 million this year to come over to advertise and game and stream on our platform. And that's where they're really giving all the money kind of thing. And it's like, we don't even need the revenue off the game directly anymore. We're going to get it off the people watching them play the game.
And I knew guys like that before this even got popular. When I was living in Dallas, I remember, and this is, 2009, I met one of Microsoft's gaming players, developers, whatever, and he was some 19-year-old kid who was making over $100K a year in 2009, just playing games because he had won a tournament in high school, and he tested. He would test and help them develop stuff to be put out. I mean, there are people who are gaming, like there are people who golf, and they are making more money, and they're getting followers and sponsorships than adults that are as legitimate as football and hockey and anything else. And you're less likely to get head trauma.
Yeah.
So, sorry, in answer to your question earlier, in 2018, video game revenue reached a new peak of $43.8 billion, up 18% from the previous years.
That's
Billion
going to
with a
keep
B.
growing.
Billion with a B.
I mean, go
Well,
ahead.
no, but so I wanted with the violence thing. I'm swinging back around real
Yeah.
quick.
No. you're good.
That one of the problems that I've gleaned with kids is that when they play publicly, when they can talk to their neighbors,
Trash talking.
Yeah,
that,
cyberbullying that
that has
occurs on the
seemed that
platform.
has sounded to me like the bigger problem. That's where
that
you
is,
get. That's where you learn slurs. You learn.
Yeah.
That is
you know,
yeah.
and
huge problem.
When it's unmoderated and it's just an open field of garbage, we've seen what happens with AI when you let it loose on the internet
Right.
just to learn from things. And
Right.
it goes nuts and
Well,
you end up having to turn it off.
Anonymity plus audience equals massive asshole.
No, and I'm trying to think. I just saw
Which goes to
before.
say the game isn't its violence. It's also the
No.
social aspect of what
Yeah,
people are talking about on it.
No,
Well,
because
and that has sounded. That's what I'm. Yeah, I said that has sounded to me like the bigger problem, rather than just shooting people on or shooting
I
zombies
would
or
I
whatever.
would agree with you on that.
Well, we see
100%.
the same problem
It's your
just
neighbors
in,
is a problem.
yeah, we see the same problem in just like social media as much
Yeah.
as
Correct.
as
that's
for
something
example,
across
August
everything.
21st of this year, of 2019, there was a kid. They put this on video because the cops had this
That came to his
kid
place.
from was. A mom said her son was just a little boy. Police said he could be the next kid from Parkland, because on Discord, which is ironically enough the chat system that Galactic Driftwood uses, said he was going to shoot up his school while gaming, and because he was trash talking, and the cops were like, we don't know if he's
But that's
legit or
there's
not.
there's trash talking and then there's threats and then
and they're trying to be like, we don't know what your son could do. They're like, do you have a gun? She's like, yes, but he's just a little boy. He would never do this.
yeah, everyone says that about every shooter out there. I never saw that coming.
Yeah. And so you
Just-
can't blame them. But I don't think that's a problem from video games. That is a problem because, one, you've given this kid access to firearms because you're not being responsible and locking your shit up.
This
And two, this is like some other issue personally that is not being addressed.
he wasn't taught that
it's the parenting aspect again.
yeah,
Right,
that
to
sort of
where
language is never appropriate. Like even joking about that is
it's
not
it's
good.
not
It was
okay
in a
at any level.
Minecraft chat.
A Minecraft chat.
A Minecraft chat.
Oh my god. Minecraft is like the purest form of creative video gaming. But I mean, we were talking about.
Well, but the temptation, I don't even know. I don't know what to do about it. But I can see the temptation if you grew up with the system to always want to one up your neighbor, and that, or by one upping, they've said something crude, and you want to
Yep.
go. It's really, I can see real
Well-
easy getting to the point as a kid going, well, I'm going to shoot up my school. You know, it's just a contest.
It's
A race to the bottom.
Yeah, race
it's
to the bottom.
the
Yeah.
Yeah.
same
that's-
thing as like excusing behavior with boys will be boys.
Yeah.
It's like it's saying gamers will be gamers, and they just like trash talk. And it's
I
like
don't
no,
know.
they
So-
have to be taught that this isn't.
So when
appropriate.
a bunch of gamer boys
nanny.
threaten a female gamer that they're gonna find her house and rape her because she
there should be
destroys them, yeah,
there should be consequences attached to that.
exactly.
Yeah.
Like that they should 100%. The police should come to the house and treat it as an actual threat. And like it's not, that sort of thing isn't free speech. That's threatening speech, and that's
And
not
and
protected.
that's what the cops' legality was to this, because this kid's conversation was
that.
reported to the FBI.
You have to treat
and
it as
the
black and
FBI
white
is
in
like-
that aspect. There's
yeah.
no world he was playing
and
a
the
video
police
game.
should have shown up at that kid's house,
Sure.
and that would have established
And they did.
consequences for that action.
And they did, and the mother tried to excuse it, saying he's just a kid.
Well,
They
and
were
at
just
that
talking-
point,
I
as a
know.
parent, if I had
That's
a
on the
child that was in
parent,
that
though.
situation,
if that's
that
my
console
kid,
would have been in the garbage right there.
Yeah.
It just would have been done.
What do you think, Bill?
I think that's. I could easily see my mother doing that. For any of us kids, had we done something like that, she'd say, "Well, that's just kids being kids." I think that's a natural mother thing, but I think it's the parents need to take an active role in
My dad would
educating
have
the
ran
kids.
me over with the car.
Really?
It just
The shame.
I mean, apparently you escaped jail on several occasions, so
There were
Right.
that would not have been tolerated.
One or two
at
occasions.
least for me growing up.
Yeah, where
No,
I got talked out of it.
And unfortunately, this is where kids used to say shit and not get caught because it was not electronically documented. And
Yeah,
now
everything is.
and now everything is electronically documented, whether
Right.
it be Facebook or Discord or whatever.
In my day, you would say stuff like that on the playground, and there would be no consequences.
No. Because kids would be kids. But it's different now when it's written because
Right.
you've gone through the trouble of writing it. And that's what these cops said. He went through the trouble of writing.
No,
I've got access
well,
to my
I'm not
dad's
gonna lie, I'm
M15.
actually glad there wasn't a lot of digital footprints for me when I
Yeah.
was younger for the stupid things that I've said. I'm
Well,
so
and that's
glad.
the thing is that today, when you say stuff like that in an electronic form, the audience is much wider.
and there's
Whereas if you just say it amongst 3 or 4 friends
Yeah.
on a
and
playground,
there's like no way to tell if that person is an actual threat
Sure.
or not.
right,
Mhm.
right,
Because people will say, I'm going to stalk and kill you
Yeah.
on Twitter, and then they'll send your home address
Yeah.
to you.
yeah.
Which is how that one kid went to jail because
Very
he,
appropriately.
God, what the exact situation was, he reported to some legal system that this guy was a potential terrorist, a backlash while on a gaming chat. They stormed this guy's house in Kansas because the kid was in California, and he somewhere we better pull
Is
this
this
up
that
before.
like swatting?
And the
Swatting.
swatting.
Yeah, swatting.
And the guy got killed by
Yeah.
the SWAT
Right.
people who went in to investigate
right.
this
and
allegation.
that's part of a problem on the police response on something and not validating to an extent what was going to happen when they breached and went into that home.
But how quick?
'Cause
How
it's not
long?
the first time
How
it's
long
happened.
should they take to
they don't
validate?
have to take long.
No.
There's just so they're like in that scenario.
Some
just from a,
validation.
No, some
in
validation,
that
but you also understand their.
yeah, in that scenario, the way that they're supposed to be trained, because this has come up before when swatting first
Yes.
became a thing, is they've fucked up essentially if they've gone into that situation and somebody ends up dying.
Yeah.
That whole way that's
No.
supposed to play out is no one should end up getting hurt.
No.
In any police altercation, that is ultimately the goal.
You
And
would
so
think.
that's why like as soon as a weapon's been fired or whatever, you're now on desk duty until an investigation's been done or whatever.
Right.
It should never come out, regardless of what the threat is. That's why you see the standoffs or someone barricades themselves in their house or what have you, and it goes on for hours because ultimately their goal is to get a peaceful resolution.
Right.
So I get frustrated when I see that, and there's a swatting incident, and now there's backlash against the person who called it in, wrongly so. But I'm also equally frustrated that someone ended up dying as a result,
Right.
Because it never should have gotten to that
No,
point.
because
there's fault
if-
on a couple sides there, so I just want to wait that there's a problem with the fact that someone died there.
Right,
just as
because there
much as
should
it
be
was
no
for the
issue.
person
Like,
reporting it.
because obviously this person was not a criminal.
Mm-hmm.
So why did these cops go in there guns blazing, without verifying how legitimate is this going to be?
Yeah. Well, I think part of that is, it's that whole thing where people are led by the discussion down a particular path to the exclusion of other paths, and they think they're going into a violent situation, and so they're prepared for violence.
And I go.
Yeah,
And
and
they
there's
sh-
being prepared, but there's also just assuming that that's what's
Right,
that's what's
and I
going
think
on,
that's
and
what they're
that's where the-
doing, right?
yeah.
Because of what they think the scenario is.
Mhm.
They're expecting violence, and when you expect stuff like that, that's typically what happens, right?
And
When
our
you're a
police
hammer,
are trained
everything's
for
a nail.
violence and not de-escalation.
Sure.
Which is a discussion for an entirely different podcast,
No, but
I
it-
Right.
guess.
But it goes back. I
Yeah.
don't think it's the video games that are causing this.
Oh, no.
I think it's the temptation to commit violence is already there. It's already unrestricted, and this just happens to be the one medium it
Well-
passed through.
The other thing with even maybe getting away from the kids, because I remember a couple years ago I'm trying to think what it was. I went to a presentation that it was like geek culture and bullying or something to that effect. But what it what it turned out to be mostly was gaming culture and women.
Yeah.
And what was happening back then, I'm assuming it still is, to women programmers, women columnists, I guess, whatever the gaming, which was horrifying because I didn't know anything about that. Because somebody outside that community, I didn't know any of this stuff was happening, that there were threats and people having to leave the city that they were born in, and it's just how awful it. And those, I presume, almost all that's adult behavior. It's adult threats. I mean, I don't know.
It's kid to older kids to teens to some adults.
It's a lot of age ranges
the age
from
range
like
is pretty
middle
broad.
schoolers to adults.
But I don't know if things have been.
Despicable, though. It's pretty
The police showed them arresting the kid that threatened school shootings. But it seems to me like, from what I saw, there was a lot of the personal threats against other people, and from what
Especially
I witnessed,
women, yeah.
specifically women, which is a strange thing to me.
Nerds are weird and backwards on that.
Sometimes
They're
some
a bit,
nerds.
and
some
I'm
nerds.
okay with that being
Some
a black
nerds,
and white.
I
Treat them
know.
the same as you would anyone giving a threat to blowing up a school or shooting a school. Bullying
I don't
needs
know
to be
if they
treated
are.
a lot more harshly than it is.
Yeah.
Because right now, if parents aren't going to take it into their own hands to dish out consequences, then you start dishing out at the very least community service mandatory and all this other stuff to make it real for these younger people, because they can't grow up and think they're going to get into the workplace or whatever and be able to interact with people this way.
Well,
Yeah,
I
they-
think community service is a good cure for this. Okay, you shit talk because you hear other people
Plenty of
getting away with
work out there to
shit
be
talking. Yeah.
There's a way to shit talk without being
No, yeah. I mean,
awful about it.
but
I mean,
okay, you've said these terrible things about women to a woman and threatened to do God knows what, and now so we're gonna go have you volunteer at a women's shelter to see what happens when people
Yeah.
in terrible relationships have no alternatives. Like just stuff like that. I think there's, like you said, there's a lot of work to be done, and there could be community-oriented consequences that maybe don't involve police time, or jail time, and we're making better citizens.
So what catches my ear pretty much over the last several minutes is, with video games and violence in general, it's a people issue.
Yeah.
It's not the games itself. We haven't been talking about a lot of the games and
No.
the violence in it or anything. It's the interactions that occur in the communication aspect in these games, whether it's over the chats or whatever. That's where we see a bulk of the problem.
'Cause
That's
I've-
where we're seeing that
Yeah,
experience.
because I've played some of the worst video games from the beginning when they were outrageous, from Mortal Kombat. Name it, like some of the Resident Evils, some of whatever
I
you
laughed
want.
my ass off in Mortal Kombat. Rip someone's head off.
Yeah.
and
Yeah, it's
whatever
by
it
their
is.
spine and yeah.
Right.
I played a very awesome game about parkour. I'm not very good at parkour right now. I mean, what you do in the video game does not translate into what you can do or can do in real life.
Yeah, Grand Theft Auto was one.
Oh,
They
yeah,
used to
yeah.
throw into their bus.
I played
Oh
that
my
too.
criminal
gosh.
activity, but
Grand Theft
You don't-
Auto
you
made
don't
me
see
feel
that.
guilty, about
it
myself.
can. That one's a pretty. That's a pretty rough one from being
right,
able to
so-
do whatever you want.
I had picked up Grand Theft Auto 3, the first one I'd ever played, and I stole a car. I ran over a little old lady, stole her money, waited for the ambulance to arrive, stole the ambulance, and then ran over the paramedics and the little old lady again. And that actually made me feel bad enough to stop playing the game. I was like, okay, that was evil no matter
So were
how
we
you frame
seeing
it.
the real unfettered Seth in this whole?
Well, I mean, if you did see that, you knew, it made me, feel bad, so I stopped playing. So,
But it's like it's
I mean,
you just gave me it's the vision of the priest in confessional and the kid now confessing all the horrible things he or
'Cause they've
she's
done
done
in
on
video
video
games
games.
and then
will you guys absolve me of my sins?
no. Okay, so
Jenna's
take that
like,
to the
no.
no, so take that to the next level. There's a kid who purposely bullied another kid on Instagram or posted lies about someone on Facebook, and they're going to their priest and confessing, I did this thing. Or, I mean, but it's like, if it wasn't that, it was yellow journalism. It was rumors. I mean, there's actions like what we're talking about. So school shootings are something different. Obviously, that's a whole other level of violence that we haven't seen yet. But I mean, a lot of the stuff we're talking about, it's been in other forms through other mediums, but because it's video games and it's newer, that's what people want to highlight. Oh, it's because of video games. Well, I guarantee you, rape has been around a lot more longer than video games, and I don't
Right.
think we can blame it on that. So,
Right.
yeah, it goes beyond that. I think it's just about consequences, and it's the individual. It's the individual's fault.
Yeah. And something else like I want to get to talk about before we're done here is esports.
Yeah.
Like the rise of esports and
Yeah.
Like-
and that kind of so there's an argument today on esports.
So why
as
don't
to
you
whether or
explain
not it's an
esports for our
actual-
listeners who may not know?
yeah,
Me.
But it's basically a gaming category for any other sport category that you have out there today. So much like you have your football and your teams and everything, they're going to go play, get ranked, and get to the top.
Mm-hmm.
There's an esports category for that, whether it's strategy games like your StarCraft esports,
Yep.
or anything. It's who's the best player out there, who's going to take home that bucket of money or whatever that is at the end of the
Bitches,
year.
all the
And
bitches.
All the bitches.
and esports will fill stadiums.
It
Yeah.
will.
Like,
It actually feels
Oh,
stadiums.
yeah.
And this has been around for a long time. Not in
StarCraft,
the U.S.,
yeah.
but in Korea.
StarCraft is like a
Is-
national sport.
Yeah, it's like a national sport out there, and it's been like that for
People
decades.
have died
So do
from
they-
thirst and
Well, however long
starvation.
So they
Starcraft's
go
been
to a
around.
stadium,
Yeah.
and what is there, like big
Yeah,
screens?
so you
they're
got your big
watching?
screens around
with
and everything,
the-
and you got your 2 or 3 or however many players in a tournament down
Just
in the
down in the
center,
center.
Yeah.
gaming away. APM. Let me tell you about APM. Actions per minute. StarCraft is a big thing. Get your APMs up.
Huh.
So I had a guy, Dong Jung Kim was
Dude,
his name.
Dude, my hand doesn't
From
work
South
anymore.
Korea. Yeah. Room with
36
me.
hours straight.
Room with me in college for a bit. Played StarCraft hardcore.
When we say room, he slept on the couch. He didn't actually live in
he
that
was
dorm
sleeping,
room.
he was the
No,
kind of guy
he
that maybe
wasn't.
had a little bit of health issues
Oh, okay.
from not sleeping enough, and
Yeah.
his body would just stop
Huh,
moving while he was
doesn't-
playing.
doesn't
his hand
work
doesn't
anymore.
Move anymore.
Oh, jeez.
But he would push us pretty good to where I could do a 1v5 in StarCraft and decimate most people as long as they weren't actually as good as your average
Korean.
that was playing the game. But he'd push you pretty hard. But there's stats and everything. Get your actions per minute up. You should be over like 120 actions per minute. Every
Sponsor
Over
couple
9,000.
seconds.
Now, actions
you know,
per minute is what?
Is your clicking, your assigning of hotkeys,
Oh,
moving your
okay.
so you're almost moving your army, you're making units almost real time. You're constantly doing something. If you're idle,
Yeah.
you're losing.
Okay.
And in some of these esports game, that's how much you have to move. You
Yeah,
should
you've
be
got-
constantly every 3 seconds building unit.
Yeah, you've got
Huh.
players who are taking doing hundreds of things per minute.
Wow.
Mhm. I think upwards of like 200-300 plus. It's a little nuts, but they're constantly moving.
So
I
if you're
stop moving, he'd
ADHD,
yell
you
at
might
me.
have an advantage in this.
No.
No?
If you're ADHD, you're far too distracted by colors and things.
Oh.
You
Look
almost
at
have to
that.
like
Yeah.
You have to
do
be
this
focused.
properly. You almost have to like zen out and like take in the whole screen at the same time, and just be able to like have your brain halfway across the map doing something else while you're running a battle at the same time.
Oh.
So that's me
And-
geeking out a little bit on the StarCraft
Yeah.
side specifically. Brings back some memories there on the esports. But
Mhm.
it was a pretty big stadium thing for a while. Your internet cafes where people can come in and they can game. That's been a thing in Korea for a long time. We're just starting to get that stuff built out here. But people have died, to
Yes.
be clear, in those places because they forget to eat. They don't go to the bathroom.
They don't drink water.
And they'll die right there in
But
the
I mean,
spot.
how many people do that with sports? Like, how many people kill themselves training?
Yeah, exactly. So esports is the gaming aspect of every other sport that we already have today. There's nothing
Okay.
to me too special about the category. It's weird to some people because there's an argument over is it really a sport? Is it really physically?
And then we're like, how
active?
dare
Are
you?
you an actual athlete? But I mean, some of these guys got tracksuits that they bring to the stadium. So I mean, they're decked out. They got their cool chairs.
Taking
It's all
performance
about your
enhancing
gear,
drugs. They're on
performance-enhancing
Adderall.
drugs.
Wow.
Get your thinking faster.
Caffeine.
But that's allowed.
I mean,
depends
I don't
on
think
the
it's been
venue.
around enough to where they're going
Yeah,
to do
they-
dope tests right
depends
now
on the
for
venue.
at least sporting,
Yeah.
but maybe it depends on the venue.
And it's
How did that
still
guy last
fairly
16
young,
hours without
so-
taking a break?
Right.
Yeah.
You know,
Right.
It's still fairly
it is.
young.
It's young here.
Yeah.
Okay.
In our culture here, but I
Okay.
wanted to emphasize when we
Mhm.
talk about esports, it's not new. It's been around, just not as part of our culture.
Gotcha. Okay.
And StarCraft's not the only thing. There's
Mhm.
plenty of other games that are actively developed and made to be esports,
Mhm.
Yeah.
to appeal to that demographic and specifically be good for people who can just like play it casually, like I might, or for these professional teams who have sponsorships, owners, and like players that they sign on after college. And some colleges even have their
not
own
even
esports
before
team.
college. That
Yeah.
kid I was talking to about,
Well,
he didn't have to go to college.
Well, we have
He
a
was
famous
making
person
well
right here in
over
Lincoln,
100K a
Nebraska,
year.
who's big on gaming.
What is?
I'll have to go back. We actually have someone homegrown here that's
Really?
really big into gaming.
Huh.
He's been on the news a couple times now, and he's been doing it for a few years.
Really?
But that's-
yeah, they just did another article on him a few months ago because he signed on for something else.
But it's like they don't have to go to college. They don't have to get a degree. When you're making well over 6 figures gaming,
Yeah.
like, why? Why would
But
you
how
want
long
to?
does
That
that
was the
last?
dream
How
for
long
me.
can they? How
Well,
long can they stay at
I
that
thought-
level?
Well,
Well,
then
if
he
they're making
become
money
a
now-
gaming coach, right?
What's that?
Yeah, become a coach.
You
I'm
become a
assuming.
business
Yes,
authority.
Yeah,
I mean,
okay.
it's this.
Once
It's
your hand
almost the
stops
same
working.
like
Yeah.
Yeah.
career trajectory as a
regular player.
regular
I don't
player.
know.
You become a coach. You
suppose.
become a
Sure.
sportsman. You go into
Commentator.
development of future games.
Consultation,
Yeah.
sponsor. I mean, it's you. That's just it. It's like, one, you're probably gonna last a lot longer than a lot of football players.
That's true.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
that's
So
a
we-
brain damage.
You don't get quite so many concussions playing StarCraft.
No.
We
Not
have a
none,
local. You're
but
right.
just less.
Yeah, we have a local gamer here made famous through Fortnite. The guy's name is Benjamin Lupo. His online moniker is Dr. Lupo, but he did a fundraising thing this past holiday for St. Jude's Research Hospital and raised over $600,000.
Wow.
Wow. Huh.
And his income, I think, had to have been like at least close to $1 million or something. But they talked about him a little while back, and he was brought up again for doing some charity things locally. But that's a reality for some
Well,
people when it comes to the
Well,
esports.
they're
Yeah,
paid
like
and,
backed by
athletes
brands now.
They
Yeah.
are paid like athletes.
And a lot of
Yeah.
a lot of them will have the Twitch streaming channels where they have people who subscribe to them, which
Yep.
involves giving them like $5 a month or whatever,
Mhm.
or they'll
Or the
have
advertisers
like
pay for it?
Yeah, the
advertisers
advertisers.
or merchandise. They'll make T-shirts.
Yeah,
There's a way
Microsoft's
to
been
make a
bringing
living
people
at
in
it,
now.
and-
Microsoft's got a gaming platform for streaming. I apologize, I blank on the name, but they recently took a really big Twitch star
Okay.
and basically paid him reportedly a crap ton of money to come over to their platform.
Huh.
And it was an easy way to buy your subscribers at that point.
Right.
Come here for the first 30 days for free, and then it's $2.99 or whatever that money is a month to continue following this gamer on this platform. And that's a thing now, where you're now to be traded amongst these companies who are buying up these
Because
esport
you're an
players.
influencer.
Because you're an influencer, they can get you onto their platform and therefore revenue. And esports or the gaming is only like 10, maybe 15% of Microsoft's revenue, but they're now dumping millions into it because it is a consistent. I'm surprised they didn't just try and buy Twitch or something like that, but Twitch
Amazon
knows
owns Twitch. They're not.
Amazon, yeah,
so they're
Amazon's
not-
not going to let it go. So Amazon made. Did
Microsoft-
Amazon buy Twitch when it was growing then, or
Yes.
Okay, so Amazon made the right.
It was a fairly recent
Well-
cash
move.
cow. Okay.
To be
cash
fair,
cow
Bezos
thing
has a
there.
lot of money to pay to Zach, so
He does,
I
yeah.
mean, it's
So
fine.
I'm not on Twitch. So for anybody listening that's not familiar
Mhm.
with Twitch, it's a subscription platform. Is that what
It's
it
so
is?
what it
free
is-
initially, yeah. It's
Yeah. So it's basically a platform for various people to stream themselves playing games
and it
or
doesn't have to
doing
be games.
whatever.
It's mostly games. It's like over 90% games.
Yeah,
but
that's
it could
how
be
it got
whatever.
started.
And it's you're joining it not necessarily to play a game against other people, but to watch
To
people.
watch,
Yeah.
it's an entertainment outlet for games.
Okay,
So, instead
so
of
people
YouTube,
have a separate gaming platform. They're connecting it to Twitch.
Right, it was dedicated. So Twitch's popularity came from connecting the gamers better than YouTube ever could through a live stream. So Twitch's gain was the platform.
Okay.
Whether it's your phone, your desktop, your PlayStation, your Xbox, you can sign on to Twitch, and you can within a second you can search for a keyword for a game or something like that.
What game you wanna
find
watch.
somebody playing live and jump right in, and they can interact with you. They can chat with you.
So you're playing
whatever
the
you
game
want.
with them, or
No,
you're
no,
just
no, no.
chatting
You're
with
playing-
them
you're just
while
chatting
they're
with
playing?
them.
Yeah.
While they're playing,
Like,
or
oh,
donating
dude,
I'll
money.
show you, I've got some highlights that I can show you after
Okay,
this, and
all right.
they're fun ones, so you'll
Okay.
probably
But
like
yeah,
them.
that grew Twitch and some of the people's popularity there. And then what you're
Okay.
seeing is you got your Microsoft coming out with their streaming platform now to get gamers onto that. And
So I'm
watch their
envisioning
stuff
it in
there,
my
but-
mind like a Netflix for gaming.
Kinda, yeah.
Well, yeah. And because some of them
Okay.
are recorded, you can come back and watch past ones or whatever
Okay.
anytime. So, out
Gotcha.
of curiosity, I was curious if anyone did like Final Fantasy ones. Like a few months ago, I went back and there's one YouTuber that literally gets him and a bunch of his friends. They sit on a couch
Yeah.
and they play through Final Fantasy and there's commentary and everything around it.
Oh.
And they play as long as they can, sometimes up to like 20 plus hours,
Holy
and they'll
jeez.
just stream all the way
So-
through it.
Wow.
And
There-
that to me was just oddly engaging. I never went back to watch it, but out of curiosity, anytime I can jump in and do that. I could also do the same on YouTube, but had I been there live, I could ask questions, I could go back and forth.
Yeah.
So,
And
so that content that they're creating, that's stored on the Twitch network.
Mhm.
And you're paying a fee per month to be on there, or do you
For
pay?
some are not. I want to say
Yeah.
not all are free. So some
Okay.
are paid only, or to get their exclusive content or something.
And that
like
includes a certain
Yeah.
amount of storage, or
I'm
unlimited
not sure.
Yeah,
I've
I'm
never
not sure
checked
how
that
that.
out.
Yeah, I haven't done it from
Okay.
like a
So,
Twitch
contributor?
content contributor or
okay.
something.
like one of the big things that I watch is called Desert Bus for Hope, which is coming up this year.
Okay.
And it's all set up around the Loading Ready Run crew that I was telling you about. They found there's a game that was an kind of like an add-on for a Penn and Teller game back 15 some years ago. That was it's just all the game is driving from like Las Vegas to Reno in real time.
Oh, jeez.
So what they do is they play this game and they're taking donations for the whole time. And the more people donate, the longer they have to play the game.
Oh,
Oh,
really?
God.
And the whole
Oh.
time they're like doing sketch comedy and
Oh, jeez.
taking audience requests of weird things they can do, doing like coming out and doing things in like costume, all the while somebody has to drive this stupid bus.
Oh,
Yeah.
jeez.
And it's a
Okay.
real time drive, so it's like however many miles between Las Vegas and whatever the
Yeah.
destination is, they have to drive that out in real
Oh
time.
my God.
That's
yeah,
Wow.
so
the
it can
game.
get interesting.
Wow.
And,
But
and
it's fun. It's a
Yeah.
lot of fun because they have like all these things arranged to do. They have prize drawings and
So it's just kind of fun to sit there and watch and see all the different shit that
And-
happens. During
yeah.
the-
And
Yeah.
over the years, they've raised like I want to say over $10 million for
Wow.
charity.
it's crazy to think what kind of money's out there.
Yeah.
So
I have
much
some
money.
YouTubers I know that aren't like the biggest YouTubers out there, but they do charity stuff and they raise several $1,000s every time they do it. Which I guess
Wow.
is one thing that I've enjoyed seeing out of it is a lot of them that are sincere and have that capability and that power to draw on that money.
Yeah.
It's not all about them and their income. They'll pick a charity at least a couple times a year and they'll host an overnight gaming event, whether they're playing Fortnite or whatever, and they'll raise up money for a local charity and donate.
Well, that's
That
nice.
I've seen has been a pretty consistent trend, and I've
Huh.
actually enjoyed it. Like I mentioned just a few minutes ago with the local person we have here, has done the same thing for St. Jude. So
Right,
a lot of
right.
them. A lot of them do that. It's a quick way to just get cash in for that, and
Yeah.
it takes time doing what they do every day.
Huh, nice.
So last year alone, Desert Bus for Hope raised $730,099.
Wow.
So,
Huh.
I mean, there's a lot of good that can come from gaming because it connects people. It gets them to problem solve and just provide experiences that maybe they can't afford in real life.
Yeah.
Now, I don't know that I myself, on the specific topic of esports, would find myself in a stadium to go watch that or ever pay
Right.
for that. It's too convenient to be anywhere to watch that, whether it's on my phone or
And not have to
wherever,
go to
and
a
not
stadium
have to go
kind
to
of a
it
thing.
and pay
Sure.
whatever that premium is,
Yeah.
and then pay my $20 for my meal or
Right.
$10 for the beer. or
Assuming you're going to
whatever.
eat and drink.
Right, assuming I'm going to eat and drink there or whatever. It's
Yeah.
too convenient for me to be in my own home to
But then
do
the
it.
same thing's
Yeah.
true for actual sports. I mean,
Yeah,
that's
I would
true,
rather
but-
see UFC from Twin Peaks enjoying the scenery
Right,
than
yeah.
I would
I agree
having
with
to
you on
watch
that.
the fight through the cage
Right.
in real life. No,
Right. Right.
I do what I want.
Now, let me ask this. So I know that in some games there's a lot of in-game purchases where you can buy stuff to help you in the game. How prevalent is that? And
I think it's already had its heyday. So what
Thank
we
you, Star Wars Battlefront.
what
for-
we saw is what the previously big or it started off as is like these in-game purchases for additional content, and that's still going. Like
Okay.
you'll purchase additional like parts of the story for a game, and it's a way. I view it kind of largely as a way for them to, because game purchase or game development, the costs have skyrocketed so much, but we still only want to pay X amount for a game. So you're provided with a core experience that's supposedly complete, but they can put out some more content for
supplemental
it
to
and
kind of make more
so
immersion.
it's not a great thing that I approve of. What was really the problem was these purchases that would affect gameplay with the pay to win. You would pay $5 for a boost to your damage or something
Sure.
for X number of days.
Right.
And then what was really coming about and being a problem is loot boxes,
Yeah.
which are you'd buy something and you'd get 5 randomized items from the game, usually cosmetic, usually
Gambling.
not things that would affect gameplay, like a different skin for a character or something.
Oh, okay.
But
Bikinis
it
for your
is-
It
female
did start
characters.
getting to the point where it's affecting gameplay, which is where we started seeing some of the backlash, though.
Yeah, and it's the sort of thing that it's called a gotcha system sometimes, which is outlawed. Certain forms of this were outlawed in Japan because they're addicting, just like gambling's addicting.
Sure.
Yeah.
Sure.
It got bad enough to where laws were proposed here and even in the UK and different parts of the world over the last 2-3 years. It got so bad in some games because the games were released to where loot boxes and other things were really the only way to achieve a win or be fulfilling in the game. And that was not a lot of them, but some of the big names out there, your EA was particularly bad with it.
So they got you in, got you hooked on the game, but the
They
only
got
way
you
you
hooked on
could
the game,
really
but it became like, unless you devoted 20-30 hours a week for 6 months or gave me $50 right now,
gotcha.
you're not going to get
You're not gonna
this
get ahead.
character, you're not going to be able to unlock something.
Yep.
Right.
And it's a sorry, go ahead.
No,
Charles.
you just right. I remember 10, 15 years ago, I had neighbors that were from Canada, and so she was working as an accountant here, but he couldn't work here.
Okay.
So he was playing video games and selling video game weapons.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
probably
So-
Diablo 2 or something like that.
Yeah,
Yes.
so he was claiming he was making, 100, 200 a day.
I mean, yeah,
But,
that's
Oh, so that's
easily
where
doable.
you would earn by playing. You would earn certain things in the game, but then you could sell those.
Sell
to
them on a
other
third-party market. Yeah.
World of Warcraft had that issue for a while. You can get
But-
platinum or gold.
I mean,
by
Diablo 2, that was a huge issue.
So-
paying people for it.
So how
and
did that work? I mean, was that actually in the game? You make the payment, but then how does the person actually?
You'd sell it. You'd do something like sell it on eBay or
Yeah.
something,
Yeah,
or
it was
a
a third-party
site like
system or
that.
whatever. Then they'd meet
You'd
you in the
exchange-
game and exchange it.
Yeah.
Oh.
That's not a problem so much anymore.
No,
It's the gotcha gambling system that
and it's no different
like-
than like on your iOS games or your Apple or your Android games
Yeah.
where there's the game's free to play, but you
Yeah.
always get hit. Hey, for 99 cents or for $1.99,
Yep.
you can get this and continue playing for another 2 hours or something like that. It's
and like there's a game I play called Fire Emblem Heroes,
Mhm.
where it's all about collecting these heroes, and the rarer the hero, the stronger your team will be.
Yep.
And so you can still do the gotcha draw for free if you play enough in game, but you can also shell out $100 and get a bunch more draws and have a lot more chance to get those special heroes. And
so that free to play game or that $19.99 game or whatever it costs is now cost you $100 to $150.
Yeah.
yeah, and
Wow.
so like a lot of these games, they don't count on the casual player like me. They count on what they call whales, the person who will come in and
blow
will
a lot
drop
of
a
money.
couple $100.
Because they've got money to burn.
Yeah.
Yep.
And that's where they make their real money from the game
I
and
see.
how it keeps getting new content. And like that's a system that can work out. You can make that system work out if you like give your normal players enough rewards, and sure, whoever's gonna, as long as you don't make it's not abusive.
Yeah.
Like there have been certain game models that are just like hitting you up for money every 5
Constantly.
minutes,
Right.
and someone's kid can spend a couple $1,000s on their
Right.
parents' credit card without really knowing what they're doing, and that's like
Right.
that sort of system for microtransactions is abusive. Gotcha systems that really play on the gambling addiction mechanics. Those are abusive because we really understand really well how to addict someone
Sure.
to gambling now. Like
Yep.
Right.
a lot of machines in Vegas, like the video poker machine or the video machines, are built with these mechanics in mind. They know
Right.
what the perfect
Combination
of win and loss is to just keep you paying money
Right.
in.
Right.
And
right.
that's the sort of things that are abusive, and they're trying to cut back, trying to
Yeah.
regulate.
Right. Well, and I imagine now with a lot of these major internet companies collecting more statistics on individuals,
Right.
it's easier for that information to be used to target people that are more susceptible to that type of thing as
Absolutely.
Mhm.
Absolutely.
well. Yeah. Well,
I think we've-
I think we're over time already. It's 3:10. So
We don't ever really stop on time, do we?
no, we don't.
You know, a girl can dream, Seth.
Keep dreaming, Jenna.
But that's good. That means we had a good discussion.
Yeah, I think
But
this was really good.
Yeah, I think
Yes.
it's important because I think it's safe to say video games are not going anywhere.
Right.
I think they do serve an important role in terms of just exposing people to good storylines, alternative ideas, art, music.
Such
But it-
good music sometimes.
I know, such great music.
We'll have
And
to
but
continue the video games and
Yes, I could
But
talk about
it's-
video game music
Yeah.
forever.
it's also because it is so new, it wants to be a scapegoat for violence. And I think it covers the fact of humans going to be violent no matter what.
Yep.
It's just finding the outlet, and we can't blame the outlet as much as the root problem. So
Right.
All right.
All right. Well, thank you all for joining us.
Thank you
Hope
for
you
the
enjoyed the
discussion.
episode. Check out our website, galacticdriftwood.space. Visit us on YouTube,
iTunes,
podcast.com.
Switcher or Twitch,
Stitcher.
Stitcher, Switcher.
Subscribe.
Subscribe,
Yes,
like,
subscribe,
comment.
Please leave us a review. Definitely comment. We would love to hear from you. We would love to hear what your favorite games are, and maybe next time we talk about video games, we'll talk about that.
it's true.
Absolutely.
What do you want to hear us talk about?
Yeah. All right. Well, thank you all. We'll see you next time.
All right.
Bye.
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 Thanks for listening to this episode of the Galactic Driftwood podcast. For more information and past episodes, please visit our website at galacticdriftwood.space or subscribe to us on YouTube. And now, please deactivate your cranial downlinks, collect your towels, and be sure to watch your step as you exit our gravity well.